Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptid.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like...
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
They were referring to Bigfoot.
There are voices in the darkness.
Reason why this show is called Drunken Cryptid.
And welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptids. I'm your host, Matthew Orton. And I do want to give a shout out real quick to Dylan over there at blademedia.com. Dylan, thank you for the graphic. Thank you for the website. You guys, Blade Media did the graphic for us for our logo. And they also built the website. If you want an example of what Blade Media can do, please go check out their website, blademedia.com. That's Blade, B-L-A-Y-E-D, media.com. So go give them a shout out. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate everything you've done. And of course, special shout out to the team. I don't do this by myself. I have a good team that supports me and surrounds me. So I definitely want to give a shout out to you guys. As always, I mean, I'm not where I'm at, because of me. It's because of the team that I have around me. So thank you again. Appreciate it. All right. Shows coming up. We do have on January 14th, we are going to be at the Censored Monkey from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Come on out, meet us. We'll have the equipment. We can record some of your encounters. There's some folks started reaching out to us to are going to meet us up there. So come out, join us. We'll have a good time. It is a 21 and only establishment, though, so you got to bear that in mind. Sorry, kids. On February 8th, we are going to be at the Paradise Pizza in Ozark, Arkansas. That's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Again, February 8th, Ozark, Arkansas, Paradise Pizza, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to be doing an open town hall meeting with Todd Neese, good friend of mine. Great guy. You get a chance to come meet him. Ask questions to myself, to Todd. It'll be hosted by the Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel, who will also be doing some expeditions that weekend. So if you want more information on that, go ahead, email me again, message me again, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. The big news is April 5th, live show with the Cryptids of the Corn guys. That's right, they're going to come down here to Arkansas. We're going to be at Old Bart's, 600 North Main Street in North Little Rock from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's on April 5th. Tickets are for sale. This is a ticket event, you guys, so limited seating, limited availability. I'll be recording for an hour. They're going to be recording for an hour. I know what Justin and Jay are going to be talking about. I know what I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be a good time, you guys. You get a chance to meet and greet with us, ask us questions. With a live show, we get a chance to kind of show pictures, versus like a radio show, how you just hear us talk, we describe, but we get a chance to show pictures. We'll be sharing everything that we've been doing, what we've been up to. It's going to be a lot of fun. You get a chance to meet and greet with us. Old Bart's is going to have a full menu available, including the Drunken Cryptid Burger, which is an amazing burger. Paul, I love it over there. Thanks, man. That's on April 5th, though. The ticket information is available on the website. It's on our website. It's on the Cryptids of Corn website, and it's going to be in the description of the show below. So please make sure that if you want to join in, great. Get your tickets before they go because they are selling. If you are coming from out of town, go ahead, message me. I can help you get hotels in the area close by. That way, you know where it's at, and you get a chance to hang out with us. I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna visit with you guys. The show's about y'all, so come out, hang out with us, and join in. And of course, you guys, I appreciate all the support. Keep liking, keep sharing. It means a lot to me. Keep commenting. If there's an episode you like, great. Drop a comment. Hey, I love this show. If you don't like it, well, don't comment. I mean, the world's full of trolls. It really is. Not as mean as there used to be. But go ahead, like, comment, share. I appreciate all the 5-star reviews, you guys. I really do. The more comments we get, the more that we get out there in the algorithm, and that helps the show grow, and it can reach some other people who are trying to maybe get some encounters, they feel lost about. So this does help folks out. So the more you like it, the more you share it, the more people get out there. So I appreciate it. But again, if you've had an encounter and you want to talk about it, email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. And follow us on all your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X. We are everywhere. So appreciate it. But now, on to the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. Got a returning guest tonight. Well, actually, technically it's this morning, so whenever you want to listen to it. But I do have Marita coming back for part 2. Got a lot of good reviews and raves out of our last episode there, Marita. How you doing this morning?
Great. How are you?
I'm great. So how's the weather in Pittsburgh? I got to ask.
Well, it actually just started raining about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, so there's no snow maybe going on in Philadelphia?
No, not that I believe in.
Okay, I know. Well, because, we're playing
Pittsburgh, we got the rain.
Okay, because we are playing the Eagles, so podcast time travel. Pittsburgh and the Eagles are playing today. So, we are recording this morning before the game. So, but did you have a good time last time you were on the show?
I had an awesome time. I was so excited. I've been counting down the days.
Well, I'm glad to have you back on because you left us with a pretty good, we left everybody with a really good cliffhanger, and we're going to jump right back into it again for everybody if you're down for that.
I am.
All right. So last time we left off at, you were discussing doing a lot of energy healing with the help of angels.
Correct.
So, and this is something I've honestly never heard of before.
Okay.
So please enlighten us.
Okay. So the integrated energy therapy, what it is it's a way of, just like the Reiki, it is a form of hands-on healing, but it's a little bit more in depth. Where the hands-on healing with Reiki is, it goes to little areas, like I was talking about. We work with areas of the body, and a lot of times concentrate with the chakras that are around your body. Integrated energy therapy deals more with fingers as opposed to your hands. And there is a way that when you go into working in a specific area, like for instance, your neck, there's 2 positions. You would go into the initial spot that you may be working at, and then there's a way to engage into really working with that energy into that particular area. It's more intense. And that too, there's a lot more studying that goes involved with it. There are 3 steps with that as well. There's a basic, there's an intermediate, and there's an advanced training with that. And it's more study with the way the body works. And you have to be a little bit more careful as to how a person may react to it, because it's more intense healing. You don't necessarily want to go into it like gangbusters. It's more of a gentle feel when you're working on somebody. And I tend to, when I have done that, I always ask my client, how do you feel? How are you? You feel the energy. So you kind of have an idea where somebody's at, if they're feeling it. Sometimes if it's too much, you have to kind of, I myself will tell myself, pull back. Or I ask the angels in my head, we need to pull back.
Okay, so let me pause real quick because I'm real curious about the angel aspect here. I really, really am. So the angels in your head, do they just, how do they manifest themselves is what I'm trying to get at.
What you do is I do a prayer before, and there is I pull my hands out and my palms are in the air, and I ask for their assistance and their energy, and nothing but good energy comes through me, their healing energy to come through me, my hands, and guide me as to where I need to be in order to help this particular person. You're working with Michael, Raphael, Ariel, Gabriel, to name a few. There is a bunch of them, and they're all designated to work with that healing aspect of this particular type of healing modality. So when I incorporate both the Reiki and the integrated energy therapy, I pretty much let them do the guiding. And I have found that when I'm working on somebody, after a while, my hands are just going a mile a minute. I don't even pay attention to any type of, like in Reiki, there's specific signals or symbols that you're supposed to do. My hands are going a mile a minute. It's almost like it's a channeling of energy that goes on right through me. And you feel that. And I know it sounds a little crazy, maybe to some people, but I have faith in what I'm doing, and I believe and I feel it's good energy. So that plays a lot when you're working with somebody, because you're working with an intent to help someone. And if it's a medical issue, or if it's something that could even just be something like an inflammation or a stress related thing, your intent is to help push that through that person so that there is a release of that energy. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, so one of the questions that honestly comes to my mind about all this stuff with, using, with the work of angels and everything is, so it sounds almost to me like it's almost a possession.
No, not a possession. That's a bad word.
Yeah, I know, but I mean that's it is. I mean, but possession. I mean, doesn't always necessarily mean something demonic.
Well, true.
It's another entity coming in and taking over. And from what it sounds like you're describing to me, is that you are opening yourself up to the angels.
Yeah.
And so my question is, when it comes to that, are you sure it's them?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason why I say yes,
and I'm only trying to play devil's advocate here just a little bit for the audience. You know what I mean?
I know you are.
So
yes.
Because there's I know that in the Old Testament, the description of angels is totally off from what they're we picture them as, with the multi eyes and stuff like that.
Right.
Same thing with the cherubs. I also know, though, that in the Old Testament, it does state that they can take on the form of what they choose to, i.e. when they went to Sodom and Gomorrah to try and find just people, and they found Lot's family. They did take on this, human form,
yes.
obviously, to try and blend in. So whether, they're putting the form on, the images on to make us feel better ourselves, so we can associate, because we do have the uncanny valley syndrome there. But, so that's why, that's, I don't know. That's, guess what I'm trying to get to on that is to make sure, that it is them.
Correct. And the thing of it is, with angels, we have that free will factor as human beings, and where they don't have, that's the difference between us and angels.
Well, see, I'm going to pause you right there, is I do think the angels do have free will. And the proof is in the Bible, actually, in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
When, Lucifer rose up against God, he did that of his own free will. And the angels that followed him, they did that of their own free will as well.
Okay.
So I do believe that, not only do we have free will, but so do they. They were created for a purpose. God created these beings for a purpose, purposeful reason, but they were also given free will. And that's one thing I think a lot of people get, misconstrued And because they didn't have free will, then there would have been no battle in heaven.
Right.
You know, so unless, so I'm going to take us down a weird rabbit hole. You're going to love this one. Ready? 'Cause I just started it. So now I do fully believe that our God, big G God, is Lord Supreme. Okay.
Correct.
However, they have the little G gods, Zeus, Thor, Loki, Odin. We could go on and on and on, you know, through the Romans. I mean, everything. And
all that mythologies.
Exactly. Through all the mythology, they have those little G gods. So what if the angels do have, they don't, if so on that note, if they don't have free will, then the battle in heaven has been misconstrued to us. And it wasn't an angel that rose up against God. It was one of the lower G gods that did. And brought some of the lower G gods into the fight. And those are the ones who were cast out. And those are the ones who were doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Right.
So that's where I have to play the double-edged sword at. So, you know, I can argue for both. I can argue the fact that, you know, angels have free will, and I can argue the fact that they don't. I mean, if I argue they don't, then it takes away the aspect of, you know, Lucifer being
the fallen angel.
A fallen angel.
Mm-hmm. And that makes perfect sense. That's a whole nother subject you and I could go on.
Exactly. I mean, so and that's just exactly. But that's just. I mean, but that's where my brain goes. And
mine does too.
So, you know, when I do the research and I am reading books and I am, you know, listening to other podcasts and stuff, and what they are talking about, and they go into these, you know, I look at it as, okay, so hold on, you know. The one thing that allegedly separated man from everything else that God created was the fact that we had free will. We could be tempted. So how is it then that with free will and the angels not having free will, how could they rise up? They don't have free will. They have to do what, you know, the Lord says.
Right.
So so you know what I mean?
Yes.
So the whole concept of free will is thrown out the window.
Right. I get what you're saying. Supposedly, the way I have always read it and understood it in conversations and even through my belief system, you know, growing up in the Catholic Church, they are not allowed to step in unless we give them permission. And same way with like doing prayers, we ask for assistance with.
But see, that's New Testament though. Old Testament was they showed up when God told them to.
I know. Well, New Testament and Old Testament actually contradict
all the time. You know,
all the time.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm not throwing anything of the New Testament out. You know, so I'm going off of the Old Testament when it comes to the angels, when it comes to these beings. You know, they have their own free will. They pleaded to God, "Hey, there's good people down there. Let's go find them."
Right.
And this happened a lot, obviously. Now, of course, we have the other angels who were coming down here allegedly, and you know, mating with human females.
Yes.
And creating the Nephilim, which is talked about. You know, we have giants. We have all this other stuff in the Old Testament. But all of a sudden, you know. So you think about with these angels and such that allegedly rose up against God, the angels, the fallen angels that came down here and created the Nephilim. I don't think they were angels.
No.
I think that the war in heaven, honestly, because if you look at every mythology, the history of, you know, where they come from, you know, it came from a battle before.
Right.
These gods battled each other. One reigned supreme. I think that the little G gods got jealous a long time ago of our God and tried to rise up. And I think they tried to do it numerous times.
I agree with you on that. I've done, one of my little hobbies is all that, the mythologies and everything, and different religions too, because like you notice a lot of the same stories. May have different names, may have different characters. I mean, even in Greek mythology, since that's one of the oldest that are known, you look at the story of what Zeus, how much population did Zeus do with, you know, humanity?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Also, Zeus was really, again, speaking of Zeus and the Nephilim and the fallen angels, all come together. Zeus in mythology is famous for coming down. He sees a human female and go, ooh, I dig her. And so by, mating with her,
Correct.
would pretty much create some kind of half god creature. It's all through.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of the Minotaur, I mean,
Right.
it's just one example of
Hercules.
Hercules was, a hero, would give him some godlike strength and stuff like that. But, the thing is so they would have heroes, and they would have villains, and they were all created by the gods.
Right. And the good and bad factor is all through that.
But it all ties in too, though. If you listen to the same thing with the Romans, the Greeks, the Romans, every mythology has these beings coming down and consorting with man. And when I say man, I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about, men and women combined.
Right.
They corrupted, the bloodlines and everything.
Yes.
And I think that that's exactly where, the little G's are at. I do think there's little G gods out there. I do think that, there's, it's talked about. It's talked about in the Old Testament, from our God. And I didn't mean to take us down this rabbit hole for about 10 minutes, and I apologize for that. But it's just some of my research that I've been doing.
Right.
And looking into it, because there's so many similarities. I got asked on a show if I believed in dragons existed, and the answer is yes.
I do too.
And the reason why is because there's too much, it's like I believe in the flood, because there's flood history all over the world.
Yeah,
every culture has a flood history.
Yes.
Every culture has dragons.
Yes. Yeah. You look at the Chinese, they have dragons. You look at, I'm trying to think, was it one of the Asian cultures besides the Chinese, different forms of them, they use the dragons, were good and bad. You have the Aztecs that had a form of a dragon, but they also used the snake that could also be the same
giant serpents.
The serpents as the same way as a dragon. Whether they were protection or whether they were a visitor or whether they were, symbolized for death and rebirth, all kinds of ancient symbols that all go back to the beginnings of our civilizations and how they were brought into play from the very beginning. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so then you think about it too, though, in Christian history, it talks about how they were slaying dragons. Okay. But again, modern day, we now take a lot of the stuff that was written down and we take it as representing a metaphor. Like David and Goliath and all that was a metaphor. No, it wasn't. When they discuss that battle, they're not discussing a metaphor of little David standing up and going, hey, look, I'm going to overcome my obstacles. You can defeat it. No. And if you actually dig into the story of the battle of what took place there between David and Goliath, and then what David does afterward, because everybody seems to stop at the battle. They don't go into what took place to where, David actually had other giants with him, these, giant slayers, and they went to battle with giants against Goliath's family. So, there's a lot to where a lot of people don't understand how much actual history is into, and has been, obviously, collaborated by science and archaeology. Like they believe they found Sodom and Gomorrah. That was supposed to be just a fictional town, two towns. But archaeologists believe they found it. So there's a lot that goes on there. All right. I've gone on that. Yeah. We could make a whole episode about this. You're absolutely right. But let's get back. Okay. So, all right. So the angels, so you're able to channel these angels to come in and to help you. And the reason why I want to talk about the angels is because a lot of, whenever we, a lot of these paranormal shows, a lot of these paranormal podcasts, there's always that, these demons and these evil things are always coming in. They're always doing this. And we rarely talk about the good things in life. And I think that, God does send angels to help us out. God
definitely.
does help guide us out. God does send these beings to assist us. And I
Right.
think that they get overshadowed so much because mankind's mindset is always negative.
Disbelief, because you figure the doubting Thomas syndrome, as I call it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You know, everybody, Christians today are talking about they're waiting for the second coming of Christ. If he was to show up today, they'd have him committed.
Yes, that's what you said the last time too.
Yeah, they wouldn't believe it.
They wouldn't believe it.
And I'll be honest with you, some guy was just suddenly pop up and go, "Hey, look, I'm Jesus." I'll be going, "Are you?" But again, part of that is because of how we've been culturally raised.
Correct.
We've taken miracles out of the church.
Yes.
We have taken the battle between good and evil out of church.
Mm-hmm.
To where now it's disbelief. So now if you research, you dig in, you do this stuff, you're extremely frowned upon.
Right. But the thing is, now it's, I guess I call it metaphysical because it's a more broader term, which kind of umbrellas a lot of what we're doing, like with the mediumship, the psychic ability, crystals, and then like with what you do also with the cryptids as well as the paranormal. That is all more acceptable now because people have gone away from some of that disbelief of how, I think because the church doesn't have, or churches do not have that control over people the way they used to, and more people have kind of thought on their own because too much of this has come out in the open where it's not as easily hidden. So more people are aware of it because more people, like you said, the internet has allowed things to come through. Yes, is there phony parts of it? Absolutely. But there is also real evidence in a lot of this as well. And so you have to kind of take it with, in some cases, at 50-50, or you have to really investigate certain aspects of it to see where your proof comes into play. I know myself, with working with people, I had to go through training. It wasn't a book I had to read or anything else like that. I will also say, I don't know if I told you in the introductions from the first time, I also went through reverendship. And so I have that as an ordination as well. So, I take a lot of what I do very seriously. And so when I'm working on somebody, and like I said to you too, it's always wanting to know how that person feels, because it's energy work takes a lot of work out of a practitioner. And you want to make sure that you're in the right mindset before you even start working on somebody. Because if you're not, you're putting that energy into somebody else. And that is not a good thing. So
no, you're right. I'm going to pause on that note. You're absolutely right when it comes to the mindset thing. I used to work for a company. Started off lower level, worked my way up, and I actually became a little motivational speaker for the company.
Okay.
And before I'd get up and give a speech and talk, I would have to make sure I put myself in the right mindset, because I did not want, any problems, any issues I had going on in my life, I had to flush out and, meditate, pray. I mean, whatever I had to do to get myself in that right mindset to be able to get and talk to people, to motivate, get them excited, to get them to do this, to get them to do that. And if you don't have the right kind of energy, I remember a couple times, I would come off a stage and I would look and go, that was horrible. I mean, I felt horrible because I didn't feel like I gave it my all.
Right.
And, so it happened, and you're right. But, the angel thing too, though, going back to that, what we were talking about, because you were kind of hitting the nail on the head, is, talking about, the church disbelief. It's funny how I look at it as to, people are more apt to believe that somebody can get possessed by a demon a lot easier than they can believe that somebody can get possessed by an angel.
Mm-hmm.
And how angels can come down, how they can help people, how they can help guide us.
Yes.
And I think again, it goes with that negative mindset. It's easier for people to believe that there's demons all around us than there are angels.
Yes. They don't understand that. And I learned this a lot, even in the paranormal, and even going through the demonology class that I went through, because I have a cousin that's a bishop, and he trained me to work with him in demonology, to assist him. And, he confirmed what I had found out myself, but in going through all that, he kind of confirmed what I myself had picked up when it comes to the demon aspects and the angels. But demons and angels were never in human form. They never, most have never, like a demon has never been in a human body. Can they possess a body? Yes. A lot of times a possession can take place due to an illness or drug or alcohol addictions, because a lot of times people will say, well, that's a demon that they're within that person's, they're dealing with their own demons. Well, in actuality, yes. And if a possession could take place on somebody, that's usually what they do. They go after a person that may be weak in the physical and in the mind aspects of things as well. An angel, I will tell you.
Well, I'm going to pause you on before we go to the angel side, because
Okay.
I'm going to partially agree with you. And this is just, again, my opinion. I'm going to partially agree with you on the fact that, and again, but you're right. It's a common phrase now with anybody dealing with an addiction. Anybody dealing, any kind of addiction, whether it be in eating, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, it doesn't matter. But we are real quick to see either A, it's a disease, which I don't think addiction's a disease. I'm sorry. I smoke cigarettes. I'm the one who chose to smoke a cigarette.
Correct.
There was not a disease in my body that said, hey, Matthew, why don't you pick up a cigarette and smoke it? No, I chose that. I decided that. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, it's now 2024 as of this recording. So I think we all know the dangers of drugs and alcohol and tobacco. However, people still choose to do those things. So I have a hard time with treating an addiction as a disease. If we get rid of that mindset right there and we treat addiction as what it is, a choice. What made this person decide to do this? What made you decide to pick up that bottle of whiskey and just start drinking? What made you decide to take that drug and just start taking it? There is a reason why you chose to do it. Instead, we use the excuse of it being a disease. And then we don't cure the disease.
Right.
We don't, because we're treating a psychological issue as a disease, and it's not. It's an absolute choice. And I've gotten arguments with people over this before. So when it comes to demon possession, if somebody is addicted to alcohol or somebody is addicted to drugs, I'll be honest with you, like you said there too, their mindset's weak, their bodies are weak. If I'm a demon, I'm not going to want to possess somebody weak. I'm going to want to possess somebody strong. I want them strong. I want them strong. I want somebody who is clean, who is not going to be looked at as being possessed. I'm going to pick somebody, and I'm thinking about tactically too. So I'm going to possess somebody who is a strong person, who's not going to be thought of as, an addicted person, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I think a lot of times, and if you do look at, like a lot of the serial killers and stuff like that, they don't have too many addictions.
No, and very much.
They're actually pretty clean when it comes to addictions and drugs and such.
Yeah, they have the missing chip, which is emotions. They're usually pretty most of them are very intelligent, super intelligent. Sometimes,
What if they're guided by something demonic?
and a lot of times, if you look at their eyes, you can see it. And if you notice there's nothing there in their eyes, that's usually, I have said it myself. There's nothing there. There's nothing there that even looks remotely human. It's that in that way, I agree with you that that is somebody that's been taken over by something strong-willed, because in order to do the things that they've done to people, it's like there's a missing chip when it comes to ethics, emotions, all of that. And most of them have been like that all their lives, even as children, when they've done things to animals and everything else. And it's just, as they grow up, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger until they do the things that they have done to the point where they get caught. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, but I do think there's some sort of absolute demonic something there behind it. And I don't think that they're going to be, inhabiting or going after the weak. They're going to go after the strong.
Yeah.
And I think the angels are there, help, believe it or not, because that's what God does, is help guide the weak, but also, the angels are there for the strong.
Yes.
Because in this battle between good and evil, both sides need strong people.
Yes. And that's what I think where the angels come into play here is like those of us that do healing work. They call us a lot of times, I don't know if you're familiar with the term light workers.
I'm not. No. Go ahead.
Okay. So a light worker, which is what I would be considered, is somebody that my psychic abilities also are part of that, because I sense and I can hone in on people that have issues like that, or maybe not feeling well. And I've actually gone up to people in events even, or I've talked with them and I've said to them, can I ask you a question? And they'd be like, yes. And I go, you got something going on with your right arm and your elbow? And yes, I've had a lot of pain in it. I said, will you mind if I do a little bit of Reiki on you? And I've pulled them aside and I've worked on them. And after that, it's, like they've had a relief to it. And, their energy changes a little bit too. And sometimes you feel it when you're working on them, because for me, I know sometimes I may get a little tired, but I also can rejuvenate that energy back. But it's like I can sense it on somebody. I've also done what they call long distance Reiki. And I've had people ask me to, I have a friend of mine who had surgery, lung cancer, and she was having some issues after the surgery. And she had called me a couple weeks after the surgery and said, I'm having pain on my left side of my body. Can you tell me what it is? And I was at my house, and I actually was able to go through by scanning the left side of my body to be able to see what was going on with her. But I was envisioning her, but actually scanning alongside my left side in order to be able to see what was going on there, and was able to tell her she had some inflammation based on in the areas of where the surgery was, and it was causing pain. And then she also had some up by her upper part of her chest. And she did see a doctor after that, and there was inflammation there. And it was causing pain, it was causing coughing and everything else like that. So I can do that. And can't tell you how I know how to do it. It just kind of came along with the gifts that I've been given through I believe, the angels and God after that accident I had in 2003. So, I have a strong faith, you could say, with that. I've also had experiences where I've done house clearings, and I've gone through homes that I've cleared out normal stuff in there, but I've also been through some homes that, one in particular, I had a young couple and an infant that was in the house, and I was already getting, there was something that was not nice in this place. And so I told her, I said, well, the day that I come, do me a favor, and can you take the baby to some, like your mother or mother-in-law, who they live by there? And she did. And I went through that house. And when I went outside the house, I saw this well that was butt up against the house. Because at one time, I guess there was a farm there. I have never seen such a huge well that was capped. And it literally was, the house was built inches from the cap of this well. It must have been 10 feet in diameter, and it was probably about 8 inches thick on top with cement.
That's unusual.
Very unusual. But their living room was, no, I'm sorry, not living room, dining room. And their dining room window was inches from this well cap. And that was the source of where I was getting this really, like, I would get this coldness. I went out to the well, I saged and I cleared stuff off of there. But when I went upstairs into the baby's room, there was a lot of activity up there. I cleared that. I went into the hallway, cleared that. I went into the bedroom. And the funny part of it is, as I was working in the hallway area, her husband came upstairs, decided he wanted to take a nap in the bedroom. And I said, well, I got to do your bedroom yet. I mean, it's better if you're not in there so I can clear it out. And he said, okay, but he never left the bedroom. Okay. And then she came up to see how things were going. And I said, I need your husband to go downstairs so I can clear that bedroom. She told him to go down, but he never went down. The ironic thing is, when I went back into the hallway to work in an area that I felt this energy that just was not good, because again, I got this coldness and I kept feeling like something was watching me. There was this giant armoire. It was an antique piece. And she had said to me that a couple times they had gotten some shadows or things that were there. So I made sure when I cleansed it and went through there, that I was really concentrating on that particular area. Well, at that point, I was there by myself and I just kept feeling like something was watching me. So I opened up the armoire and I'm getting, like the hair in the back of your neck.
Yeah.
So I was taking pictures and something just said to me, turn your video on and reverse the lens. So as I'm doing that, I just kept getting this feeling over my right shoulder. So I turned around and I did that. And I took a video of over my right shoulder. And I did it a few times. And I put it down and I continued myself going on and on. Went through the children's rooms. And I tried to do the bedroom again. And I tried to get him to get out of that bedroom. He would not leave the bedroom. So I did what I could. And then after I was done with the upstairs, I came downstairs. The kitchen was another hot spot. Well, finally, he came downstairs. It was almost like he would not leave that bedroom because something didn't want him to. But when I got home that day, I went right to that video that I took. And I'm going to tell you what. I had a video of something that was behind me. It had a goat-shaped face, dark round eyes. It almost had like lion's mane on it. And where I had shot over my shoulder was steps. And next to it was a room air conditioner, but you could see all this like white foamy stuff floating as well. And this thing was hovering. You could see it hover. you could see it blink its eyes. It was just, and I was thinking, holy cow, if this isn't something demonic, I don't know what is, because it sure as heck was not human. And I showed it to a couple people that have done paranormal work for years. And I said, what's your take on this? And I had one guy say to me, you actually caught this? It's, this is, you got to, really, I don't know, some people call it A class. And this actually lets you video. I said, I don't think it realized I videotaped it, because I told him what I did. I reversed the video camera. It thought I was taking pictures in front of me, but I actually shot the video behind my shoulder. I have the video still. But it's incredible. When you look at it, you can see the eyes blink, and these big black eyes. And it has like this whitish gray, long face on it, almost like goat looking. And it has this black mane. And it's...
I would love to see the video.
I can send it to you.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Yeah. And I have another photo where I had done something with clearing a person that had back issues. And I know, again, this sounds a little crazy, but this, I believe, came from something with a past lives. And he had really bad issues with the back. And I did some research, and I kept getting stuff about this past lives. This is past lives. And when I did it, this past life came back to the time of when England actually had jurisdiction over India, and in the military, like 1800s time period. And this actually, what was put in this man, he was murdered by somebody that was a form of royalty, and he was stabbed in the back with like a saber with poison. But along with that, the information I got was that there was something with a jinn. Now, a jinn too can be considered demonic.
Well, most jinn encounters, I mean, they're not great. I haven't heard of one jinn encounter out of the Middle East that's a good thing, which, the basis of the genie comes from,
Right. And I was removing it again. The person was not there. It was a long distance type of thing. I have a photo of that too. It showed up in my, where I was at removing it. I had my picture of Uriel that was with me, and I had, done my whole thing with, the salt and the protection things, and the angels were there because I called them in to protect. And there's a picture of this half human-like looking thing, and it almost looks like a lion, and you can see the teeth coming out of it. And I've showed that picture too. People will go, oh my God. So do I believe that stuff?
That's scary.
Yeah, it's scary, but it sounds crazy, but I've seen it. And so I'm not afraid of it, because it's not my job to be afraid of it, because I've done it in order to protect. So I know I'm doing my job. And because my relationship with the angels, I was, when I had that accident and went through that near-death experience, I didn't die because there was a job for me to do coming back. And I believe truly that has a lot to do with what I'm supposed to be doing now.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there, because one, you hit some nails on the head that I want to cover real quick, and especially on the last statement you just made, to where you should have died but you came back, and because you had work to do. And when it comes to these kind of things, and it's funny to where I can't say that we all have a purpose per se. I do think that there are certain things that we are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And, it's hard for me to kind of put in the words. And so I'm going to do the best that I can for everybody listening, is everybody does serve some sort of purpose in life.
Yes.
And, one of the great quotes is, whether it be a lesson, whether it be, something painful, something joyful, everybody does. Obstacles, stuff like that. I think that we create our own problems, to be honest with you, from God. I really do. I think that we create our decisions, our choices, again, free will.
Mm-hmm.
We create these choices. I've made bad choices in life, and I've had to pay the repercussions from those. And the only person I blamed was me.
Right.
And I do feel as though I've got a guy we recently met. We just recorded an episode, his second one actually, and he's been running a pretty successful TikTok about cryptids, paranormal, and wanted to get more into it and start his own podcast and stuff. And so his, as of this recording, I did his second one yesterday, but which will air tomorrow, Monday. So his episode will already be aired, his part 2 as well. And he just had this crazy encounter that left a mark on him. This is a guy who's been a skeptic his whole life. His first episode, he goes in with a group of people to a haunted asylum, sanitarium area, has some crazy experiences there and goes, whoa. As he said, okay, this stuff is real. So if this is real, what else is real? And he starts going down the Sasquatch route and stuff like that. And so, as he's pushing to get everything launched, he has this really crazy encounter. And just a couple of weeks ago, fairly recent, to where I was speechless listening to it. And if you listen to the episode, you can hear that I'm blown away by it as well. But I do think that whenever we do these things that we're supposed to be doing, that we're kind of being guided to,
absolutely,
we have obstacles that pop up. Things will come into the way. Things will try and stop us. And things will be there to help us. And sometimes what we think is trying to stop us is actually trying to help us. For example, you hear about it all the time. Somebody goes through a bad breakup and their whole world is just shaken apart.
Yes.
And not really realizing the reason why the breakup had happened was to get you out of that. People lose a job.
Yeah.
People lose a job. And those people who lose a job, whose world is shaken up, the ones who get out there to fight, to push, to get something else, find a better job.
Yes.
A place that they're much happier at. And these things had to happen. One of my favorite little stories, I think, when it comes to God is this. A swimmer goes out, and I've told it before on the show, and I'll tell it again because I like to hear it, and I think you'll appreciate it. A person goes swimming in the ocean, and they get too far out there, and they're struggling to make it back. They're not going to make it back. They're going to drown. And they're like, God, help me out, help me out, help me out. Lifeguard sees them. Lifeguard comes out there. They're like, no. They shoot the lifeguard off. No, God's going to save me. God's going to save me.
Yes.
Boat comes up. No. God's going to save me. God's going to save me. Helicopter finally shows up to pull this person out of the water. No. God's going to save me. God's going to save me. Well, the person drowns.
Yeah.
They get to heaven, and they're mad at God. They go, God, I was drowning. I thought you were going to save me. And God goes, I sent you a lifeguard. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. What more did you want?
That's right.
And I think with that right there, a lot of people seem to miss the messages. I went through a dark period this year in 2024 in my life, pretty dark. And I'll be honest with you, God sent some really positive angels my way.
Yes.
I have friendships since then with certain people have blossomed to just excellent things in my life, and I'd be lost without them. And I appreciate the support. My buddy Tony being one of them, Vince being one of them, obviously Jacob being the other one, and Tommy. I mean, I can't brag enough about Tommy, what Tommy does behind the scenes for me on the show. So, and I've got a chance to, other things have happened. I've been filming a documentary. I'm looking to go on another expedition next year.
That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a lot. I'm super stoked about these things in my life,
Yeah.
but I had to hit that rock bottom.
Yes.
And I'm
And
so grateful for that rock bottom because I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. I won an award. My podcast won an award. I would have never, if you'd have told me a year ago that I'd be doing this right now, well, I'd probably be like, yeah, I see me podcasting. And my buddy Matty was pushing me to do this. And, not only a year ago, that I would be filmed in a documentary, won an award for a podcast, I probably would have laughed.
And I understand what you're saying because I too, just recently this past year, went through very similar situation and hitting rock bottom the way I did. And since then, having things guided to me, and I met a wonderful woman that has been a coach to me to help turn, a lot of what I encountered around. And her name's Becca. And she's really brought a lot of light to me in the last almost 2 months. And, getting out of that dark spell that you're in and being able to just do the normal things that you went through, because I felt at one point that I was going to lose it because it was so devastating to me, even what I do now. And I knew I could not do that because that's not for me to do, but I had to find something to hold on to in order to pull myself out of it. And I met her, actually, it was a fluke. I met her on Facebook. My Facebook account and her Facebook account, we both kind of just dropped into both of our accounts because I asked the angels and God to please help me at that point. And within a period of time, this all just went into play. And, and then as I started working with her a little bit and, doing things, it actually brought me to getting my goals back out there and putting it out there that I wanted to be able to expand and, become more known, being able to work. Even my love is to work with what I do with disabilities. Also, I want to get out into the cryptid community. I want to get out and back into the paranormal groups again and start working with them. That is a love for me. I've always had that. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. And like you said, making friendships. The fact that, how you and I met and how I'm now on my second podcast with you and the audience that you have, and how far it is from my little place in Pittsburgh to where you're out clear in Arkansas. I mean, that is not of my control. That is, as I put it, that is more godly, angels, all that stuff. So, like I said, when I say my belief system is very strong in what I do every day, I truly mean it, because that has to be part of my life in order to even do the things that I do, even working with people, whether I'm doing mediumship or reading a person or doing what I'm doing right now with you. So, that's real important. And to go a step further, I've had encounters with angels, but I didn't know it at first. And I've asked people that have had strange, as they would call it, strange things happen to them. I've said, do you feel that you've ever met an angel? And they go, well, I don't know. Why would you ask that question? And I said, well, because I've had that happen to me over the years, and it took me a while to figure that out. But I think I've met angels that have come in to assist me with things, whether if it was lost and I needed directions, or, just, something that I needed an answer for, or, if I was working on getting ready to work on somebody that might have been for a healing type of like doing Reiki and things like that. I've actually met them in in the strangest places, whether it was like at a store shopping or out on the street somewhere. You bump into these people, you've never met them before. And all of a sudden, you're on the conversation with them over things that you've been thinking about. And all of a sudden, this person brings up that subject. And I noticed that when I walked away from them, there was something odd, something different. I explain meeting an angel in person as there's a slight delay when you talk to them and how they interact with you. Their eyes are a little different, but their expressions are not like ours. It's almost like a delayed reaction. But a lot of times too, they look very intently into your eyes. And when you walk away from them, it hits you like, wow, that is really deep, or that's exactly what I was talking about. And I've turned around a couple times and that person's not there anymore. And I'm like, okay, that must have been an angel. I was meant to have this conversation.
And I think you're right. I think a lot of people run into more angels than they realize.
Yeah.
And whether, believe it or not, it could be somebody in the grocery store that just says like, you look nice today. Mm-hmm. And not in a creepy way, but in a way that where you walk away, you're feeling good. And then you don't see them again to the store.
Right.
Or just anywhere. But I also think that, angels also work through us as well.
Absolutely. They do.
And, like I was talking on the recording, I was talking the other day, like if I won the lottery and I'll be honest, if I won the lottery, I would go around to all the schools around me and I wouldn't want to receive any fame for this. I would go pay off every kid's lunch debt.
Yes.
I would just want to go into a restaurant, grab the manager and go, everybody's ticket's on me.
There you go.
And just sit at the bar.
Yeah, because you're giving back.
Yeah, and just because, on that one right there, because I don't know, maybe the couple, saved up some money to get out. They got a babysitter that night and they needed that night out. And there's just something they couldn't afford, but now they're having a dinner.
Yeah.
And not even realizing that it's already taken care of. Those are the kind of I would love to do those things right there. And I wish I had the financial backing to do it. Either that or I'll turn into Batman, one of the two. So I'm just saying, I'm waiting for the billionaires to step up. Come on, we need a Batman, Iron Man out there, guys. Come on.
Right. I mean, I'm that way even with the with like the Tunnel of Towers and the stuff with the military. That's where I would put a lot of it at as well. And, the kids with cancer and stuff like that. That's the first place I would go, and do those things and want to be a part of it, because to me, that's who I am. And if I could do so much for people, that's where my heart is. And that's what I'd want to do. But that's important. And, the fact that I got my life saved, when I did, because I wasn't supposed to die at that point. I had, there was, whether I understand it fully or whether anybody that's gone through this understands it fully, there's a job you have to do. And even going a step further, I was at an event last weekend. I was telling you about this earlier before we got on. And yes, there was a Steeler game going on and we were dead. This event normally gets a lot of people, but because it was the Cleveland Steeler game, we didn't have the traffic there.
Yeah, see, if you'd have told me this in advance, I could have told you it was going to be dead. You were in Cleveland. Everybody in Cleveland was somewhere else watching the game.
I know.
And the rivalry between Pittsburgh and Cleveland is ridiculous.
I know.
It's awesome. I love rivalry games. I mean, they stress me out, obviously, as a Steeler fan, but it's like the Army Navy game yesterday. Navy beat Army. Obviously, I'm Army, but and before the game, I was telling everybody, I was like, listen, records go out the window for this game. there's been times Navy's had a hell of a record and Army's only won a few games and Army slaughters Navy. And that's what happened yesterday. You know, Army has got a better record on the season than Navy does. And Navy pretty much gutted, the Army. Seriously.
Yeah.
And the prideful, so what I love about the rivalries, and this is how I handle my rivalries with me personally, because I don't want to be a sore winner. Okay. And I don't want to be a poor loser. So and I'll tell, like, I got friends who are Eagles fans. I got friends who are Chiefs fans. I got friends who are fans of every team out there. And whenever we play them, I'll tell them, I can't tell you good luck today. I can't tell you that at all. What I can say is no injuries.
Right.
We're both, I got a good friend of mine. I just mentioned him earlier, Vince. He's a diehard Chiefs fan. And we play the Chiefs on Christmas Day.
Yes.
And he's like, man, we're not going to be able to talk all day. So, no, I'll talk to you in the morning.
Right.
And I said, and depending upon how the game goes, I may shoot you a message later on after the game. I said, but no injuries. And he's like, no injuries. I said, we're both, they're fighting for the top AOC. They are the top AOC right now.
Yeah.
As of this recording. So, I'm fighting for a playoff spot. The Eagles today are fighting for a playoff spot. So, again, no injuries.
Right.
No injuries. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. I don't want to see, anybody get injured or play dirty or anything like that at all.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but
I have to tell you, I was laughing because I got a chance. Was it Fox yesterday had in the morning, they showed the new uniforms of the Army and the Navy. And they were both pretty cool uniforms, but the Navy did the Jolly Rogers. And I thought, that's pretty cool. The raising of the Jolly Roger and the flags and everything else like that. And with Pittsburgh, we have the Pirates, which is not always a great team.
Them poor Pirates.
I know. But it's the raising of the Jolly Rogers. And I'm like, I think I want a Navy would be nice because Navy doesn't usually win. Be nice to see Navy win. And sure enough, today I heard it because I was busy yesterday doing some stuff. And when I heard the Navy won, I'm like, all right, the Jolly Rogers.
Well, I have a Jeep and
the Jolly Rogers.
Yeah, I have a Jeep and it's named the Black Pearl.
Yes.
And so I got a couple, just all pirated thing up. And I'm not a pirate fanatic or Pirates of the Caribbean fanatic. But so I'm all about the Jolly Roger and just raise the Jolly Roger and they won. And Navy played a good game and they beat Army and is awesome. And I love at the end of the game, it's just they come together in the field and still hug it out and still like rock on. This is who we are.
Right.
I'll beat you up, but I won't let nobody else beat you up kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's just kind of how that brotherhood thing is. All right. Well, we've gotten off a track. So what I'm going to do, we've been doing this for over an hour. So I'm going to get ready to wrap this up.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, we'll have you back on probably sometime next year.
All right.
So we get through the holidays and everything. And of course, if I don't get a chance to talk to you between now and then, I just wanted to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
And
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And keep an eye out for those angels.
I will.
I do believe there's more angels than there are demons. And I do believe that there's more good than bad. And I do believe that there's a lot better people in the world than what we're told and what we're led to believe.
There's a lot of good people out there.
And so, exactly. And I just want everybody, especially this time, it shouldn't just be at Christmas time. It should be at every time of the year. Mm-hmm. Go say hi to your neighbor. See your neighbor outside, go shake hands with him. Go say hi to him.
Smile and say hello. You never know that smile. I always used to tell my coworkers too, that even when I worked in the mall, especially when you saw the elderly sitting out there, it doesn't cost you anything to smile and say hello because you don't know what their situation is. And they may not have any family at all. And that smile you gave them may have saved them from going home and doing something.
Yep. I drive for a living. And so I tell everybody that I train up for driving is, watching the traffic around you, watching the cars, what they're doing, everything. I said, and be careful because somebody who was speeding, somebody's driving erratically, I don't get mad at them because I don't know what kind of day they're having. I don't know what kind of news they just got. I don't know if they're racing home or away from something. So And I see people like that. And I see an angry person or, driving, people flip you off, not the horn, you know how it is. And I always say, man, I hope your day gets better.
Yes.
Because obviously you're having a worse day than I am. And if you knew my job, I promise my day's not that great. So I really hope your day gets better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, but again, Maria, I am so grateful you came on. So thankful. Thank you very much for opening up and sharing a lot of this stuff with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. And I hope you and yours, you guys have a safe and very Merry Christmas. And so, yeah, I'll get you back on we'll get you back on again. Because we do have some things further down the road that we talked about off air that we're going to be discussing after deer season.
Yes.
So I want to save that ace in the hole for further down the road. But
absolutely.
All right.
And you and your audience have a great New Year's as well.
Exactly. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, guys. Stay safe out there. And again, if you've had an encounter and you want to come on the show, email me, drunkencribs@gmail.com. Follow us on all the social media platforms that we're out there. And yeah, give us a shout out, give us a like, give us a share. If you like us, do it. If you don't like us, well, then don't. I mean, not everybody's cup of tea. That's just how it is. But I am generally your shot of tequila. So until next time, y'all stay safe out there.